Go ahead, Mr. Robinson.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Senator Grassley, and Ranking Member Feinstein, thank you so much, and all the members of the committee here today. And I want to say to you, Senator Feinstein, that those hundreds of millions of dollars that you're looking for the writers, I claim mine today. And okay, so, but it's really an honor to be here, and I'm very happy to come and represent this proposal. I'm going to focus my remarks on Title II of the Music Modernization Act, the so-called Classics Act. As a member of the Recording Academy and SAG-AFTRA, my message is simple. Musicians who recorded before February 15th, 1972 deserve to be compensated the same way as those who recorded after that date. I will add to that, as I'm saying this, the fact that I know a lot of musicians and producers and writers who have fallen on hard times and who could really use that money. It's a livelihood thing. It's not just about music, it's about lives. So they could really use that money, and I'd like everybody to keep that in mind. The Classics Act is designed to fix the quirk in the law that created this loophole. Back in 1972, Congress decided to protect sound recordings under federal law going forward. State law protected sound recordings made before then. This worked well back in the day my Miracles records were being sold in stores. But when digital radio came along in the late 1990s, thanks to Senators Hatch and Leahy, Congress passed a law so that artists and their labels were paid when their recordings were performed on those services. Me and my fellow artists are thrilled, or we were thrilled, and we're still thrilled about that. And it was a great deal for the digital radio companies too. A single license to cover all recordings. No negotiation with every owner of every recording. No need to ask permission to use it. A government set price. It was a win-win. But some digital radio companies' lawyers found a loophole. Those corporate lawyers asked, what if we don't pay for pre-72 recordings under the new federal license because they are covered under the state law? And then what if we argued that laws are too old, that state laws are too old to cover digital radio? That would allow them to profit off some of the most valuable recordings of all time, paying legacy artists nothing at all. And for those of us who are avid radio listeners, I listen to the radio all the time, especially in my car, and most of the music that's being programmed now, or I would say at least 60% of it, is pre-1972 music. And so that should be taken into consideration. The records of the 50s and 60s aren't called classics because of their age. They're called classics because of their greatness. They still resonate today. They define the American sound. And their financial value to the companies that play these recordings is clear. That's why there are dedicated channels on satellite radio like 50s on 5, 60s on 6, and you get the idea because they're still playing that music, which is attracting listeners to their stations. Let me put this into perspective. The Miracles was one of the very first acts signed to Motown in 1957. We recorded the label's first million-selling hit, Shop Around, in 1960. Second in Motion in 1967, and Tears of a Clown in 1970. Those happen to be some of the biggest records I've ever been associated with, and to not be paid because they were prior to 1972 is ludicrous as far as I'm concerned. A lot of work went into making those songs, not just from the artists, but from the musicians and the writers and the people, the producers and people who were involved in making them, and they deserve to be compensated. So as the law stands, I get paid when a digital radio service plays my solo hits, Cruising or Being With You, from 1979 and 1981. But under the federal law, me and my brothers in the Miracles aren't paid when they play any of our recordings. But those recordings are valuable to these services. Altogether, the Miracles and Smokey Robinson's recordings are streamed by folks who use this federal license over 50,000 times a day, every day. An arbitrary date on the calendar should not be the arbiter of value. And I hope that we can all here today recognize the value of what we're trying to accomplish here today, because it's very important. And especially, like I said, for me, who know these people personally who could use this. I don't recall going to bed on the night of February 14, 1972, and saying, okay, tomorrow I start making it count. And I don't believe the people of this country have ever made that distinction either. In fact, more than 3/5 of Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 songs of all time were released before 1972. These records matter to people, and they matter to digital radio services. If they earn a profit and attract listeners because they play these recordings, it's only fair that they should be paid. Now, I recognize I have been lucky, and I really have. Not only have I been lucky, I've been very, very, very blessed, because I am still able to perform and to earn a living doing my craft and making records and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of people, and I mean a whole lot of them, who are not as fortunate or as blessed as I am to have a continuing career which allows them to still be earning money to that degree. And we need to take them into consideration because we just should. It's only right. For many, especially at this point, their careers, in their careers, this is how they make ends meet. So that's very important. Of course, a songwriter and producer, or as a songwriter and producer, I'm thrilled that the Music Modernization Act isn't just about classics. It also includes mechanical licenses, reform for songwriters, and a mechanism for music producers to be paid. It creates certainty and efficiency for digital services. It stops litigation and starts cooperation. The legislation has brought together parties who don't always see eye to eye, but who see clearly the need for a fair and modern system that works for everyone. I would like to give special thanks to all the members of this committee who supported the comprehensive music legislation, but especially Senators Coons, Kennedy, Tillis, and Booker, who were the first to champion classics. My fellow songwriters, Senator Hatch and Senator Whitehouse, Chairman Grassley and Ranking Member Feinstein, Senators Graham, just one second, Cornyn, Crapo, Flake, Durbin, Harris, Klobuchar, and Leahy. Thank you for your support of these important issues. This is an unparalleled feeling of accomplishment that comes from creating music. There is an unparalleled feeling of accomplishment that comes from creating music. The reward of knowing that the hours and effort that went into writing, recording, producing, and something that will truly make an impact on the world for generations to come. I wish for you all to share in that experience, to be creators of something innovative, constructive, and enduring. Something that will make a profound difference in the lives of so many. The Music Modernization Act will make that difference. Thank you for making it a reality. And I really appreciate everyone who is here and all of you senators who are supporting this particular act and this particular subject, because it's very, very, very important. It would be like if you went to the grocery store or the supermarket and the owner was in there and you said, okay, I'm going to get groceries from you for the next 10 years, but I'm not going to pay you. So it's the same thing. When people do things or create a business to make a living for themselves, they should be compensated for that, and the music business is no different than that. If we stop paying people because, well, it's only music, well, that's ludicrous, because of the fact that their time and effort and creativity went into creating this music that people are getting pleasure from and listening to and having forever and ever. And I don't think there should be a time limit on that. I think it should, you know, because people are going to be creating music forever, and those who have created it in the past should not be not compensated for their works because it was prior to 1972. And I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.